السلام عليكم أعزائي الطلبة. نبلش وياكم المحاضرة الأولى من Respiratory Physiology Basics of Respiratory System. نبدأ with objectives. Introduction to general organization of the respiratory system. Anatomy of the airways. Thoracic cavity, pleural cavity, blood and nerve supply, and pulmonary vasculature. The respiratory system is made of gas exchange organ, which is lung. Number two, the pump that ventilates the lung consists of chest wall, respiratory muscles, increase and decrease the size of the thoracic cavity. Areas in the brain control the muscles. Tracts and nerves connect the brain to the muscles. The term respiration includes four separate functions. Number one, ventilation means breathing. Two, gas exchange, which is between air and capillaries in the lungs and between systemic capillaries and tissues of the body. Three, distribution, transport of oxygen and CO2. And four, regulation of breathing. Anatomy of the lung after passing through the nasal passages and the pharynx. Inspired air passes down the trachea and the two main bronchi through the bronchioles and alveolar ducts, the alveoli. Between the trachea and the alveolar sacs, the airways divide 23 times. The first 16 generations of the airway passages form the conducting zone of the airways that transport gas to and from exterior. It is formed from bronchi, bronchioles, and terminal bronchioles. Those respiratory passages do more than serving as gas conduits. The remaining 7 generations form the respiratory zone of the airways, where gas exchange occurs and are made up of respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and alveoli. Gas exchange occurs at this zone because of the extremely thin walls, especially at the alveoli, surrounded by extensive network of interconnecting capillaries, making the alveolar gas in a very close proximity to the blood. These multiple divisions greatly increase cross-sectional area of the airways. There are 300 million alveoli in humans, and the total area of the alveolar walls in contact with capillaries in both lungs is about 70 square meters. You can see the distribution or the divisions of the airway starting from the pharynx and larynx, trachea. We can see that this is the trachea divided into two main bronchi, then still dividing to about 16 divisions, ending with terminal bronchioles. Till this level is called the conducting zone. The conducting zone do not participate in the gas exchange uh, area. While after that, after terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles will start dividing further 7 divisions, ending with alveolar sacs. The area from the respiratory bronchioles downwards is called the respiratory zone because gas exchange occurs in this zone. We can't see the comparison between the respiratory zone and the conducting zone. The conducting zone starting from the trachea, bronchi, until the end of the terminal bronchioles, while the respiratory zone starting from the respiratory bronchioles, the alveolus, and the alveolar ducts. In the respiratory zone, gas exchange occurs, while in the conducting zone, no gas exchange occurs. The structure in the central region, regarding the thoracic cavity, called the mediastinum, enveloped by two layers of pleural membranes, the pharyngeal parietal superficial layer lines the inside of the thoracic wall, and the visceral layer, which is deep covered lung surface. The visceral layer pushed against uh, parietal pleura, and the normal condition, a little or no air between them. There is potential space, which is called intrapleural space or the pleural cavity in between. The pleural cavity filled with the fluid produced by the pleural membranes. It does two things or two functions. Number one, or A, act as lubricants. Parietal and visceral pleura pass each other. Helps hold parietal and visceral pleural membrane together by self-extension. You can see that the visceral pleura, which is inside, in contact with the lung, and the parietal pleura, which is in contact with the chest cavity or the thoracic cage. And in between is a potential space lined with fluid that is called the pleural cavity. Nerve supply, the lung, parasympathetic leads to bronchoconstriction, sympathetic leads to bronchodilation. Blood supply, pulmonary artery comes from right ventricle, and pulmonary vein returns the blood to the left ventricle. The pulmonary vascular system, which is the sensible low pressure system as compared with systemic circulation, because thinner walls of pulmonary arteries or the branches of the pulmonary artery, even small arterioles, have a larger diameter as compared with counterpart systemic arteries. The presence of a few muscles in the walls of the small arterial vessels, so pulmonary arterial pressure is 24/9 mmHg, which is lower than the pressure of the systemic circulation. Non-respiratory functions of the lung. هذا الموضوع يكون ويا سيمينار قدموه بالأسبوع الأخير من الموديول، لكن أنا راح نحكي عليها بشكل سريع. الفانكشنز اللي هي not related to respiration اللي هي number one, the lung serve as pulmonary reservoir or blood reservoir up to 400 ml of blood. هذا البلد راح يحتاج الجسم في أي وقت يكون the blood loss hemorrhage راح يصير shift of blood in the lungs to the other parts of the body. Prevent pulmonary embolization, as one of the functions of the lung is to filter out small clots and emboli as they contain hyperlytic system. Defense mechanism by pulmonary alveolar macrophages اللي هي وظيفة مناعية IgA, bronchial secretions, nitrous oxide, mechanical defense mechanism with the hair in the nostrils and trap the particles of 10 micrometer size. إذا البارتيكل أصغر 2 to 10 millimeter, initiate cuff reflex to be pushed out of the airways. Less than 2 millimeter, adjusted by pulmonary alveolar macrophages. Metabolic and endocrine function, اللي هي surfactant, prostaglandin, histamine, remove serotonin, acetylcholine, norepinephrine. Lung also activate the inactive hormones such as angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme on the surface of the endothelial line of the pulmonary capillaries. هاي نهاية المحاضرة الأولى اللي هي introductory.